What's going on, everybody? It's Living to Learn. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, I want to welcome you to my channel. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for taking the time to watch what I am presenting here. The idea behind my channel is to provide content that's going to be helpful. And these are all things that I have thought about and have learned from, and these are things that have helped me. And so I'm trying to pass them on to those that are watching. For those of you that are regular viewers of my channel, I want to thank you for your consistency. I want to thank you for your participation, for providing an audience for me to speak to. And I hope that what I've created thus far has been helpful to you. So thank you. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please hit that thumbs up, comment, share. If you have ideas that you want to discuss with me about future videos, I'm happy to consider those things. I'd love feedback. So go ahead and do that. If you want to donate to my channel, in the description, you'll find a couple of different links that you can donate financially to this channel. It helps me in my consistency. It helps me just in the time and commitment that it takes to come on here and develop this content, record this content. Again, this is something I love to do, but it does take time and effort. And so anyway, thank you. Quick intro. I want to continue something I think we kind of started last week. And I made a video last week about building rapport. I don't think I liked the video. I was happy with the outcome, but I was thinking about just the different dynamics, the different elements in building rapport. And I thought I should take a little more time with some of these things. And so what I want to talk about today is the importance of developing empathy. The importance of becoming someone who is applying empathy to their relationships and to the world around them. Now, what is empathy? If I could give you a simple answer, we're going to talk about some kid stuff today. This is not a kids video. It's not designed for kids, although kids can watch these things. I try not to say anything too, that kids wouldn't be appropriate. I don't think I've ever said anything that's inappropriate for kids on here, but it's not a kids channel. But we are going to talk about some kid stuff. But anyway, empathy, if I had to explain it to a 10-year-old, I would say, well, here's what empathy is. Let's say your best friend comes to school and they're sad because their hamster died. And you may never have ever owned a hamster. Maybe you're not even a pet person. But there's your friend. They're bummed out. Empathy is this. Empathy is you looking at your friend and thinking, I wonder how I would feel if I had a favorite pet and that pet died. I wonder what that would do to me. All you're doing is you are trying your best to put yourself in your friend's shoes. Now, what this is going to allow you to do, it's going to allow you to respond appropriately and effectively to your friend in this situation. The reality is this: empathy, for some of us, I believe it comes naturally. For some of us, it's a very strong trait in our personality. For others, it isn't. Now, we're going to talk about some kid stuff. We were all little kids once. And when you're a kid, right, especially when you're young, really little, right, 2 years old, 3, 4, 5 years old, those important developmental years, you're learning everything. You've got all your emotions You're trying to communicate. You don't know how to. And you're trying to communicate to adults who already have a skill set that allows them to understand what's going on. They know how to communicate. They know how to say things, but you don't. Now, as a father, happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the dads that are watching this. We just celebrated Father's Day. I had a great day. Shout out to my family. Appreciate them. Appreciate my kids. But as a father, this is something that it's probably number one on my worry list. Now, I shouldn't be worried. I know. But I do worry. I'm not going to lie. I do. I try not to let it overwhelm me or drown me, because then that's not going to do any good. But I have little ones. And it's hard, it's difficult for me to put myself in their shoes and understand what they're trying to communicate. Here is how do I say this? Here's the catch, right? Here's the flip side of that. Because we were all that kid once, to a certain degree, everyone you see walking around, every adult you see walking around, every grown person, they still have that inner child. They still have a little bit of that little kid in them. The mind, the nervous system, our emotions, everything it's so complex. It's so diverse. It's so difficult to know which part of that unsatisfied, which part of that inner child, which of those unmet needs still reside within us and still affect us on a daily basis. What am I getting at? I'm getting at the importance of developing empathy. I'm trying to get us to understand that in a lot of ways we are the same. And so you become this powerful force. You become this source of wisdom. You become this light. You become this significance when you learn how to develop empathy for others. When you learn how to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Now, we went to the movies a while back, my family and I. And we're sitting there getting ready for the movie to start. So on the row in front of us on the right side, there's a group of about 6 or 7 teenagers. We know how teenagers can be. A little loud, laughing, having a good time. There's a younger couple. They're obviously younger than me, but they're adults. Younger couple sitting in the same row. The movie starts. Lights start to dim. Everyone's getting ready. Now, you should be quiet. You should be respectful of others. People paid to watch this movie. Let's watch it. Kids, you can still, I'm sorry, they're not kids. The teenagers, they're still talking. You can kind of still hear them. You know, they're still lingering on. The couple, it was a man and a woman. The man looks over and yells, "Hey, shut up." Stop acting like a bunch of 12-year-olds. That's what he said. Now, did they need to be quiet? Yes. Yes, they did. They did. They were talking when they should have been quiet. But what I found to be, I was thinking about this. I thought, you know what? Why would he just assume that he could be disrespectful to them because they're teenagers and he's an adult? Because that was a disrespectful way. He could have done it a lot more, with a lot more, with manners. Excuse me, would you guys mind keeping it down? The movie's starting. All right. This is what I'm getting at. Because you could take that situation, you can apply it in so many different areas. We've all seen things like that throughout our life. We see stuff like that every single day. What happens when, before you react, before you speak, before you lash out, you are attempting to put yourself in that person's shoes? I am by no means saying this is something easy. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to say and make a video about. It is not easy to put into practice. But how powerful does that make you? When you are taking the time to assess the situation and you are saying, you know what, I'm going to try to put myself in this person's shoes. Understand where they're coming from. If that was me, what would be the appropriate response? Going back to what I said earlier about being a father, it's difficult. It's difficult to try to put myself in a child's shoes. This child with their emotions and they're acting out. And they're trying to tell me something. And I'm not understanding. And I'm using my adult logic. I'm using my grown-up logic. They're misbehaving or you know what, they're not listening. They need to learn their lesson. They need to learn to listen. True, they do. But Dad, you need to learn to listen too. Active listening. Perspective taking. We live in a fast-paced world. We don't have time to listen. How often do we really listen? How often are we really listening? What would that change? What would that do for you and your surroundings if you became that individual? So I want to challenge us to become empathy astronauts. I'm thinking, that's silly, Josh. What does that even mean? Well, I told you we're going to talk about kid stuff today, right? So we're going to have a little fun. What is an empathy astronaut? Well, first of all, what's an astronaut? Again, there's a technical definition. There's all these things that go into it. We know it's not just somebody with a helmet on that goes into space. But if you're a kid, what do you think? Astronaut? Ask a kid what an astronaut is. Oh, that's the person that goes into space. Kid doesn't know what they're doing out there. They don't know about space stations and wind measurements and all that, technical stuff they're doing. They're just, hey, that's the person that went into space. And that's pretty cool. They're up there floating around and looking at the stars and looking down at Earth and just hanging out. No gravity. They're jumping around. Here's the other thing. There's not a lot of them. It's not like there's thousands of people up there right now. So the astronaut is doing something distinct, doing something very different than the rest of us. Exploring in a place that most of us have never been to, and some of us will never. If we're talking about space exploration, most of us will never see that. At least in our lifetime. Who knows what the future holds? But what I'm getting at is the set apartness, the distinctive, to be that person, to be that individual that actually takes this serious, that sees the value in this. Because to me, this is gold, especially in a world like this. You know, I go to the gym, and I don't want to make assumptions. Not everyone is doing this for that reason. But I noticed something, and it's kind of funny, and then it's kind of sad. There's a bunch of us in there, and you see everybody with their their earbuds. Everybody's got their beats on, like. And again, I don't want to judge and say, oh, well, they're trying not to, trying to work out, right? That's what they're there for. But it's just kind of crazy that we're all here in this building, but we're all here by ourselves. There's a bunch of people in the same room, but everyone is solo. Everybody is by themselves. And to me, that gives me a small sample size of greater overall society, the world that we live in, where we are all rubbing shoulders and we're all passing by each other, but everyone is to themselves. Who really knows what's going on with the next person? When is the last time you took any interest in even wanting to know what somebody is dealing with or what they're going through? What does that do for you? What is this going to do for your mindset? What is this going to do for your capacity to understand when you start to develop empathy? I realize that not everything I say on this channel is for everyone. I realize that not everything I present is important to everybody. At the end of the day, we all have a choice to make. But it's my own understanding that leads me to believe that developing empathy in this day and age will make you almost superhuman. It's going to make you stand out. If we become empathy astronauts, we're going to outer space. We're not going to stay put. We're going to go somewhere that most people will never go. That's going to develop a strength in us. That's going to set us apart from others. That's going to make us distinct. That's going to help us become an individual or a person, somebody that is looked at as special. You're not like everyone else. Isn't that what the kid always wanted to hear? Isn't that what the inner child, the one that is in us, always wanted to hear? I may not have understood what you were trying to tell me, but I realize now, son, I realize now, daughter, it's because you're unique. It's because you are distinct. If I can put myself in your shoes, then that's going to help me develop an empathy and an understanding and a purpose to find out, what do I need to address the inner child within myself? So I hope this has been helpful. I think developing empathy is very important. Not only for ourselves, but in the world that we live in. Those that are affected by us. Please feel free to subscribe, share, like this video. Donate financially if you feel led to do that. And if you have any interest in my coaching services, you'd like to find out more, follow me at Live to Learn Coaching on Instagram. Send me a direct message and we'll go from there. All these things are in the description of the video. Have a great one.